Hey guys, I'm Ken DeHart. I live here in San Jose, California. I grew up in Indiana as a basketball player, and I'd never seen anybody play tennis till I went to school in Kentucky. It was a small school, and I was playing basketball, and I ran by the courts one day and said, it was like fun. Went to Kmart, bought a wooden racket and a can of balls, and started playing. And that was toward the end of my freshman year. My sophomore year, we asked the coach if I could hit with the team, and it was the lady coach says, "You can hit and help pick up balls." I said, "Okay." So I was there every day. My junior year, I won the conference doubles championship. My senior year, I was captain of the team, most valuable player. And I've been playing tennis ever since. I started at age 20, 19 or 20 when I started off, and I'm 71 now. I've been playing about 50 years. It's been an amazing career because I've traveled all over the world. I've spoken at the Australian Open 4 times. I've spoken at the U.S. Open several times, and at Wimbledon. Excuse me. Got choked up on that one. I train other coaches. I do a lot of, I have 7,000 friends on Facebook and some DVDs out, and I write for several different websites and Facebook pages on tennis tips and games and drills like that again. But very passionate about the game. I have about 2,000 wood rackets and about 800 books on tennis and a ton of just tennis stuff. And I usually post it up on my Facebook page. And everybody says, "Are you a hoarder?" I said, no, I'm extremely organized.
Well, I'm going to say something that this is a common theme from where I'm going. Basketball players make good tennis players.
They really do.
I think it's the spatial relationship and how you see angles and things like that. I'm the same way. I mean, I grew up playing both, and I feel comfortable in both settings because I do both of them. Or did both, I should say. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, you say a small school in Kentucky. You got to give us a name. I'm from around that area, so.
All right, it's in Campbellsville, Kentucky.
Campbellsville?
Campbellsville College. It's now a university.
Okay.
But it's a small school, and I found it by accident. I was going to go to Indiana University because that's where I lived, close to Indiana. And then one of the girls I was dating had a girlfriend who had a brother that went to this school. And I said, "There's no school there." He said, "Yes, there is." So I applied and got accepted, and I was the first one in my family and the only one in my family to ever go to college. And I have a master's degree in education, and I've been a director of tennis my whole tennis career pretty much. I taught high school for 3 years and coached the high school team. I got a chance to become a director of tennis, and that's been my career for the last 50 years.
And I'm sure that, like you said, the speaking at the majors and doing all that, and still being involved and still loving it. What was the first thing when you said, you got to pick up balls and just got to swing a little bit?
Yeah.
What stuck with you? What made you transition from being a basketball guy to a tennis guy?
First of all, it was outside.
Okay.
And I got a chance to hit almost every ball. And a lot of times in basketball, I didn't touch the ball.
Right.
I was not the main scorer or stuff like that again. And it was just fun. I mean, you could hit with different people and different styles. And my dad had played AAA ball for the Reds, so I knew baseball. And in elementary school, I played third base and right field, where you chase butterflies.
Right.
So I became a catcher, so at least I was touching the ball. But I understood how to hit from baseball. I understood how to use your feet and play offense and defense in basketball. And that translated to tennis right away for me.
Right.
So I never really taught tennis the way they taught it back then. I taught it as an athlete would play it. And so a lot of the things I'm doing now or even back then, was things they teach now: open stance, how to hit the ball, spin, how to change the speed. So I was really fortunate to have not played tennis before, actually.
Right. Right.
But,
and not to have that formal education into right.
Right. And my specialty is probably handling large groups. My specialty is like having 10 to 15 players on a court, a variety of skill levels, and nobody stands still. It's not just you're running around; it's controlled chaos.
Right.
And so whenever I travel and speak, I'm always speaking to coaches about how to handle large groups in a positive way. And then the other part is learning how to communicate. Like most coaches will say, my basketball coach in elementary school says, "You got to want it. You got to go for it. You got to be patient." I had no idea what the hell he was talking about.
Right.
But if it said, "I need you to take 2 more steps between shots. I need you to control your temper when you get fouled," I could do that. But they always talk in generalities. And tennis is the same way. They say, "Don't hit it so hard." That's what? Move your feet more. Then what? Get higher. Then what? So if
Right.
you, my goal is try to teach coaches how to be more specific. Like, you ever seen a coach say, come over here? I've never seen it over here. Where is it over here?
Right.
So why do you think people don't come in? But if you set everybody on the discourse service line, that's measurable. So it's developing a language of with your players that's measurable and meaningful for you and for the player, instead of just general terms, and you hope they figure it out.
I had a basketball coach that used to say, you have to go strong with the basket. I'm shooting layups with my hand in the square. Like, I don't know what you mean by stronger. What he meant was instead of doing some kind of dipsy-do, just go. I was like, all you had to do is say, leave a handprint on the glass, and I'm okay. But like you said, they speak in generalities, and it doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. And someone I was talking to earlier today was kind of the same way. You have to be able to make it make sense to them. And sometimes when you have that formal upbringing, you can't reach everybody.
No.
You know, and it's not, I'm not saying the formal upbringing is wrong, but like you said, hit the ball here instead of, you're in zone 3, this is what you do. Like, but it doesn't make sense for every shot.
No.
You give me a generality for everything, but it doesn't make sense for every shot, every play. Some shots are going to be 2 inches over the net. Some are going to be 24 inches over the net. Depends on the situation, right? So, yeah.
And
now,
a lot of using using underspin as a weapon rather than as a weak shot. People hate it. My son's a college player. He uses a lot of underspin. Players hate to play it because the ball stays down, it stays low. And the coach was saying, gotta hit the ball harder. Not till you get the right shot.
Right. Well, I'm a one-handed backhand guy.
Right.
And that one-handed slice approach shot, cutting away, that's, a foot past the service line, is a lot more effective than the top spin, bringing the ball back to the, and why you don't teach that, why they don't understand that. If you've got to reach and dive for a ball as opposed to one that's set up in your wheelhouse, why would you hit that shot?
Sure. It's like, I seldom ever hit an approach shot. Most of my approach shots are around the service line.
Right.
Because the guy's got to move up and get up. If I hit it deep, I might hit it too hard. I might make it too high. I might hit it out short. And the shorter I hit it, the better actually.
And if you're hitting with a lot of top and he's used to hitting it up here, you hit it right where he wants it.
Sure. Remember when Roger first came on the scene, and everybody would say he's pretty good, but his backhand's really weak and then so short. It took the announcers like a year to figure out that he was doing that on purpose.
Right.
He was smarter than them.
Yeah. Oh, well, I love the internet conversations on okay, you can say what you want about whatever you want, whether you like this guy or that guy, but to count Federer, because in a time when there wasn't a lot of innovation, everyone was pretty much playing the same way, he changed things up. And there aren't many people that have copied him to be able to play that way.
I know, it's really weird. It's a little bit like Steph Curry, basketball. He kind of changed basketball. And he doesn't get a lot of credit, because he's a small guy and he's on a good team. But, Federer made himself good. He's a good double player too.
Right.
Because he makes this party look really good. So a lot of guys out there that have kind of innovated because that's who they are. You don't have to play. It's like Borg is an innovator. They didn't make him change his two-handed backhand, and they didn't make him change to flat balls versus top spin. So smart coach.
Well, and that's part of it. There, you hit it right on the head. Part of coaching is to understand who you have and what you're coaching, and we're all individuals. So I don't think anyone would, in their right mind, would teach you how to play like John McEnroe.
No.
Yet he was very successful. I mean,
still is.
You try and hit, he still is, exactly. You try and hit like that for 10 minutes, body parts will start to fall off. And you'll get crushed as well.
That's right.
It just doesn't work that way. So, that's part of the fun of this, I think, is that, and I was talking to someone earlier today, the creativity, the innovative aspect of finding what people can do and then building on that.
My son was a two-handed forehand player most of his career till 15. Just knocked the cover off the ball. Everybody kept saying, well, he can't play in the pros like that. He'll never be really good like that. He said, well, they need two-hand on every shot, just the ones that are above his waist.
Right.
You can still do one hand if you need to. So if they get focused in on, this is how the game's supposed to be played. No, it's not. Every generation changes the way the game's played.
Well, and I get a thing of when, teaching how to change grips. And this is my brother who's a pro. We kind of have the argument before. It's like, I don't know that I even change grips. I know that I'm aware that I do, but and a part of it is having played for a while as well.
Sure.
But there's not like a set time when this is that. It's a natural reaction. One shot is I'm in my head decides that I have to hit the ball this way. Another one decides I have to hit it that way. And part of that is how you've been coached as well. But also, I think it's not being a robot to go out and play.
No, I fight the coaches a lot because they say, well, look, there's only one grip for your volley. I said, I talked to Martina Navratilova and Williams. I said, what kind of grip do you use for your volley? Said, the height of the ball.
Right.
Change it based on the height of the ball.
Right.
One of the fun things we do when I travel, we have the players volley back to each other, and you have to put the racket behind your back, bring it back out, touch your right hip, put the racket between your legs like the Globetrotters. I said, what grip did you use? You just knew how to get the racket face in the right position. And so we did a lot of games to show them that you don't have to have one grip. You just figure out how to make the racket face point where you want the ball to go.
Right, right. And we get to the point where and this is a coaching thing, and I get that. We like to be in control. We like to tell people what to do. I get that. But sometimes we forget that they're the ones hitting the ball, not us.
Sure.
So when you come up with these big absolutes, this is what you do in this situation. This is what you do here. This is how you no. The only one that I've seen that has worked that is an absolute is continental grip on a serve.
Right.
Anything else is fair game. I have yet to see anyone hit with a forehand grip on a serve that's been successful. Other than, and when they do, I'll shut up.
Yeah. Boris Becker was probably the closest. He had a high Eastern grip, but you got to look at his body type and what he did and stuff like that.
Yeah, and he had so much launch, and there were so many things that he did that the average person couldn't do.
Right.
Okay, let it slide. But for a regular recreational player, you can hit this way, you can hit that way. That's the only thing I've seen that's worked that I can say, all right, your serve's not going in, do this.
Right, exactly.
But that's about it.
Sure.
And that's the fun of it. I think as a coach, the fun of it is you have to discover what you're doing with each and every player.
Sure. And if they have to feel comfortable with what they're doing. You can't say this is what you should do because it doesn't feel comfortable that way. We'll have a hard time with the continental grip. We have them hold the racket with the continental grip and have them hit the ball on the edge of the racket at the net and then now give the ball a high five.
Right.
Well, I see. You actually that grip lets you turn your hand. But it's all guided discovery. How do you create something so that they can figure out what it's supposed to do instead of you telling them what to do?
Right. I had a drill, I called it the racket is my friend. And, you bounce a couple times. Now try and do that with that grip. And then now you bounce it on the edge of the racket, up in the air, down on the ground. Like, that's how you have to grip the racket to do that. Doesn't mean that's how you have to grip the racket all the time, but it works that way. Yeah. So,
right.
It's nothing that no one else has thought of, I'm sure, but it's something I went, this works. So how does that work? Now, when you're incorporating large groups, how do you keep that individualism going?
Oh, here's my Saturday mornings the last few years. I have 30 players on 3 courts. The skill level is 3-0 to 5-0, and it's drop in. So whoever shows up, shows up.
Okay.
And I'm the only coach on the court. So what we do some drills where we make them move like typically you have 2 lines closing in the volley, but you put cones, so they have to circle the cones going back. So they work on adjusting steps, and if you have big enough group, you have more cones. By the time they get back, it's time for them to hit again. Nobody's ever standing still. When we start doing games and drills, like we'll have Frank, you and I are going to be on the deuce court side. You're going to rally cross court, 2 more players. So once you get hit square 2 to square 2. So right away, I've already defined direction and depth by square 2, square 2. Just go down. And you're going to do, you and I are going to do underspin. They're doing top spin. And we're going to play first 1 to 7 wins. You have to rotate up. You and I have to rotate up to every shot. And then in the ad court, they're doing something different. On the next court, they're playing a game.
Okay.
So I gave you the direction, the depth. I gave you the type of spin you're going to hit, and how many balls you had to hit. And you had to rotate with a partner, and you're trying to beat the guys in court 3 or in the ad court. So it was easy to handle groups, and typically you'd put good players with bad players, and they didn't really care. They would actually help out the weaker players.
Right.
And it was $30 for an hour and a half. And so I made $900 an hour and a half.
And you're giving them all the aspects of what you need to learn. And like you said, that's the hard thing, is keeping everyone involved and not standing still.
Right. I hate that.
Well,
stand still.
Well, and I know that's the mandate, hit a lot of balls and keep them moving, but hit a lot of balls and keep them moving and actually accomplishing something is the hard part.
With a purpose, right. It needs to be a purpose for your shots and your purpose for your movement.
Especially when you've got 3 courts and you're the only person there.
Right.
And you don't even have to feed at that point, do you?
No, I don't feed. I feed so the ball's in the warm-up, and then after that, it's all game-based. Because I feed them the perfect ball. When they play, they never get the perfect ball.
Right.
So I need to see how well they adjust to the way they're going to actually play in matches and things like that again. I like dealing with the unknown. All my clinics are drop-ins. I never know who's going to show. I might have 3 people, I might have 10 people, I might have 3 of them, I might have 4 of them. But my goal is, okay, how can I make this a fun experience for them? And the lesson plan's in my head. Because who would use this shot? What is this shot? Where do you hit this shot? When do you hit this shot? And why would you hit this shot? And so my lesson plan's over here. Over here, I use get in play with direction, depth, spin, and speed. So there's 10 options for every lesson right there in my hand. And all I got to do, we're working on getting the ball in play. Who would use this shot? Someone who wants to not make errors. When do they do this? Why do they do that? So you explain those things so the players understand it, but in your own head, you have a lesson plan made out in your head.
And that's true coaching. You understand what they're going to accomplish or what they should accomplish, but they don't necessarily have to know that part.
No.
They just have to know how to do what they're supposed to do. And then they discover as they go along. And
then you get to say, wow, that was cool. You figured that out, didn't you?
Yeah, right. and then you get that. This has been the overriding theme from everyone I've talked to about this in the last few days. You get that, oh, wow moment.
Yes.
That big smile from them, like, I didn't know I could do that, or I've never done that before. Then that, even though it's not your goal to make you happy,
sure,
it is fun when that happens.
It sure is.
And they're like, I didn't know when they hit a shot they've never hit before, or they hit the serve that, the American twist that kicks away, they've never done it before. Like, how did they do that? I know how you did it, but you have to figure out how to do it again.
That's right. We do a lot of serving. We have them practice serving, not looking, because there is no such thing as hand-eye coordination. It's only eye-hand coordination.
Right.
My hand's not that smart. My eye tells my hand what to do. So I've never had a problem teaching someone to toss. If I toss the ball to my hand, because your eye's telling you where to go. So if you look up first, the ball will always be in the right spot. If you're not sure where the right spot is, do a few practice swings. Notice where your racket comes through.
Right.
That spot, the ball has to go there.
Right.
And then the goal is to swing and let your eye stay there till you hear the sound of the ball.
Right.
Because if your eye moves, your hand moves again. So
you're all off and right.
Exactly. So serving's pretty easy, and it freaks them out when they don't. So, but how'd the ball know to go in there? I said, you already create a picture in your head where you want the ball to go. Right. All you got to do now is not change the picture. So I enjoy that part of it.
I've always said I can fix somebody's serve in 5 minutes. It's up to them whether it stays fixed.
Right, exactly. It is, that's right.
The fix is easy. It's usually one of 2 or 3 or 4 things. That's not hard to fix. It's now, does it stay fixed? If you if you remember these things as you go along, and you incorporate, like you said, what you do into it, the serve is the easy part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a little bit like the goal of pleasure and pain. The pleasure of serving is really good like that, but it's going to take a little bit of a pain for you to practice it under pressure.
Right.
So that you can have the pleasure of having it work for you when you play.
Right. Right. And it's, and actually that's the entire thing. You know how to get in position to hit a forehand. Right. It's do you get in position to hit a forehand?
That's right.
And that's oh no, I need to take another step. And then when you fall in love with the closed stance, open stance argument, just hit the ball.
Yeah, just hit it. It doesn't matter. If the ball's deeper, your stance is open. If the ball's forward, you might close the stance a little bit to move into the shot. But shot you have to make.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's a conscious or a subconscious movement, but it's like you said, with the two-handed forehand, he hit it one time. He'd hit it with a two. One time he hit it with one. It depended upon him and where the ball was. And once it becomes a natural reaction, it's like you said, I've got a decent slice backhand, decent topspin backhand. When do you hit one or the other? I have no idea.
That's right.
I couldn't tell you why I do one or the other. My brain automatically reacts, that should be sliced.
Right.
I don't know. Brackets back, and it's already hit. Well, when did you decide that? I never decided. It just kind of happened.
Right.
But it takes coaching to get you to that point.
It does, yeah.
Right.
And it takes the pain of practicing and missing a few. But then the pleasure is really high.
Right. Now, when you have a chance to speak at the majors and all that, what's going through your head? I mean, are you like, this is something I'm supposed to do, or like, oh wow, I got a chance to speak to these guys? What do I do now?
Most of the time when I speak to majors, it's for coaches that are there like that again. So it's trying to make it really simple. There's pretty much 5 drills we use, but there are 5 variations for each drill. And so you don't need 100. I've got a handout with 100 drills, but I said, don't use that. Pick out 5 you like, and then just change the direction, the depth, the spin, the speed, and the scoring. And you got more drills than you need. And people like it when it's kind of similar. But pretty much it's teaching them what we call common sense things. It's always like, oh, wow, you can see the coaches get it too. So typically, and when I speak, we stop, like I was at High Sense Arena at the Australian Open, and I had the players do some drills. We played unusual doubles formations. And you couldn't play the same formation on any point. It would be a different formation every time. Because that's the way to get used to playing and changing the momentum of the match. And then I would stop and talk to the coaches. About every 15 minutes in a presentation, I stop and say, what did you like best today, Frank? What did you like best today, Sherry? Because it makes them remember things that I talked about, because you have a tendency to remember the last thing you talked about.
Right.
And then you remember something that reminds Sherry, oh yeah, I forgot about that. So part of my job, it redirects where I'm coaching by what they say too. But they know they have to pay attention because they could be getting called on.
Right. And it is different coaching coaches than it is coaching players.
Sure. And they're extremely tough to get them to do anything different. They're worse than players. It's like, well, I'm good at what I do. I said, I know you are. Could you be gooder?
Right. And if you were so good, why are you here?
Right.
Or if you didn't want to be better, I guess is a better way of putting it.
Right.
You came here to improve, so let's get you to improve. Right.
For 3 years, I won the USPTA Career Development Award. I had the most coaching and the most credit hours for continuing education. And everybody said, what do you go? I said, I only need one new idea to multiply it by the things I already know. And half the stuff I go to remember because I forgot it. Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. So I said, why wouldn't you? Because you're never that smart. You just need to remember the things you forgot and find one way to change something that you've been doing successfully to make it even more successful.
The reason I'm giggling at that, one of my favorite players, I had him since he was a freshman. I had him in the youth lessons before that. And I ran a drill that I thought I just made up when he was a senior. And he's like, oh yeah. And I'm trying to explain to him, like, no, coach, it goes like this. I'm like, how do you know how it goes? I'm just making it up. Like, we did that when I was 10. I did, so there's nothing new under the sun.
No.
But like you said, you do so many things, you kind of forget what it is that you do. Right.
Sure, that's right.
Yeah, I have to give him a call now. It just made me think of that. But when you're in the point of coaching coaches that are still, how do I put this? That still think they're players.
Yeah.
And I know we all still think we're players, but how do you get them out of that mindset or can you get them out of that mindset? Okay, you're no longer A, you're now B. Because I think a lot of them have a problem with getting to that understanding.
Part of that's a problem, especially if you have guys who've been on the tour, because they've always been, you have to be so self-absorbed when you're on the tour. And when you coach, it's never about you, it's about them. The worst thing I can see is, I have one of my coaches who's always telling everybody about what he did. Nobody cares. And they don't care who Andrew Agassi was. They don't care who Bjorn Borg was. They don't really care that you played high school tennis. It's really getting the coach to understand it's not about you, it's about them and finding out more about them. Right. And then most of them, if they were players, have no idea what the hell they did. They just did it. but how do you explain that to somebody else?
Well, I told you I spoke to Johan Krieg the other day, and I found out and I didn't know. He said he was actually a coach before he was a player. When he was a young kid, his coach said, "You're going to coach other players to learn how to play, and also to make a buck before you." Because back then, you're on the satellite tour and all that.
Yeah.
And so when now he's 7 years old, I said, "Well, so when did you make that?" It's kind of the same question. It's like, well, I've been a coach longer than I've been a player.
Right.
And I thought, wow. And he said, that's how I approached playing. I was coaching myself. And sometimes I think that as players, we tend to not give them that information of like, okay, well, we use the phrase self-coaching sometimes.
Right.
But we really need to coach them how to actually be coaches themselves. And I think that's an important part of coaching.
That's why I ask a lot of questions when I coach, because I said at some point I'm not going to be there.
Right.
You have to figure out how to solve the problem by yourself.
Right.
And that's what you're really trying to do as a coach, is so they become independent. And as I started playing late, obviously, but as I started coaching more, my game improved, because I had to verbalize and think out things I thought I knew to explain to somebody else, and all of a sudden my game got better.
Right. It's like, I know how to do this, but how do I do it?
Right.
I've got to figure out how to, and you have to explain it to yourself. Well, and one of the things I found, especially when you're in with the youth program and some of the.
Excuse me, this has been, I got somebody in front of me. I'll be right back. Yeah. Sorry, right back.
Okay, not a problem. Well, I was saying, one of the things that I found out when like you said, you've got 3-5s and 4-5s and walk-ons and all kinds of things. If you teach them how to teach themselves and then teach each other, again, the one thing that the overriding factor of all this is that there's a camaraderie, kind of a synchronicity with all the people we deal with. So if you can teach them to teach the same way that you do,
right,
that kind of smile on your face and understanding, then they help each other out, and they help each other out, and like, you go get a cup of coffee.
Yep. All my coaches are former students.
Okay.
And they have been junior students or adult students, but all my coaches are people that I taught. First of all, they buy into your method of teaching.
Right.
They understand it, and that really helps a lot. It's hard to bring a new coach on and convince him that this is how I'd like you to do that, because he's convinced he's already pretty good.
Right.
So it's always more challenging. So I've always tried to bring my coaches up from the bottom through teaching. And when they have the skills of communication and be able to talk to people, I say, okay, I'm gonna get you certified, you're gonna be good.
Now, do you also find that it kind of helps them to have a little bit of a different twist than you do?
Oh yeah, we don't want the same thing. We want the concepts to be the same, but how you choose to verbalize it. I have some guys who are anal detail, some guys who are very esoterical, and so that they have different approaches to everything. When that's the way everybody learns differently.
Well, I started as an assistant to the varsity coach, and then over the course of a few years, we switched jobs. And one of the things that I figured worked the best was that we didn't always see and want the kids to do the exact same thing. Right. So I may attack it from one end, he'd attack from the other end, and we end up meeting in the middle. And the kids got 2 options of what they could do, or 4 or 6.
Right.
And I think we did a better job that way than just my way or the highway.
I agree.
Yeah.
The coach is not a dictator.
Right. Right. And I think it's more fun that way as well. It makes you think a little bit more about what you're doing when someone else is giving you another opinion or another option.
Sure. And like we said, occasionally you forget stuff and the coach says, what about this? Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Or,
right.
That's pretty good. I'm going to incorporate that into what I do. It's hard to do things by yourself all the time.
So now that we're in this situation, I hate to say it, I can't think of a better way to do it.
Right.
When we come out of that, where are you at in your club, do you think?
Well, first of all, figuring out how to make things a little bit safer, a little more sanitary, stuff like that again. My specialty is groups. So my groups are going to be, we always use dots and donuts and cones for spacing anyhow.
Right.
I just got to be more aware of using those for different reasons now.
Right.
I think that I won't be allowed to teach larger groups right initially. They're looking at private lessons, maybe 4 to group, as a max for right now. But the parents already called me and said, hey, when you ready to go? We're ready to go. We need the clinics again.
We need to get
So,
these kids out of the house, right?
yeah, exactly. That's right. And then a lot of it is trying to figure out, are we going to be able to do camps at all? And how many people are you going to allow in the camp? And how many coaches like that again? So a lot of it is just trying to figure out new things to do using things you've already done. What do you think is going to be the major change for you?
I think it's kind of the same thing of you're going to be more individual oriented,
Mm-hmm.
and you're going to be more, it's going to be tougher because you're used to bouncing ideas off of people and
Sure.
having ideas bounced off of you, even the kids. You
Sure.
look at them and go, now, well, I told Johnny this and I told Stevie that. Why did I tell you guys different things? And
Right.
now they come to something together. That is going to be the toughest thing to say, okay, and it may end up being more of the my way or the highway because there's no one else on the highway.
Sure.
And that may not always be a positive thing, but you're going to have to be more. I think what it's going to make all of us do is be more aware of the things that come out of our mouths
Right.
and the things that go in our ears,
Right.
because you won't have that other side of things, which is going to be tough. But again, we learn.
Sure.
You
Well,
know,
my approach to teaching isn't always like, it's always like, what do you do with your game? What kind of things give you trouble right now? What's the toughest opponent you had to play lately? Because I really want to teach them what they need to know. A lot of the players just say, you tell me, you're the coach. I said, yes, but I want to coach what you need, not what I want you to learn. So I think as long as you use the question and answer type thing, and that works so good. On private lessons, I always have a written evaluation. I have a tennis court on a 8.5 by 11. We always do a summary of what we did. And I give it to them. And then their job's to interpret what I said on the back of that. It makes sense to them. So private lessons always get a lesson evaluation sheet. And the groups, we have handout for tennis tips and stuff like that.
I had a kid that went from being an average player to a very above average player. And he was, I want to say it was a senior year, he was beating a kid 6-love, 3-love. And during the changeover, he said, well, I'm doing this. No, do this completely different. This set played backwards. He's like, what? Second serves on first serves, run around backhands, whatever you would normally do, don't do it.
Right.
Why? Because you're not learning anything this way.
Totally.
You now you have the perfect opportunity. If you drop a game, you drop a game.
Sure.
You go back to what you're doing, you're okay. And that's where I think we're at right now. That, okay, we can look at things completely different now because they are. But eventually we should get back to what was the norm. But we have a chance to upend things now. Like I said, be creative, do things a little bit differently. And how we do that, I don't know. But it takes a lot of planning, a lot of plotting, but also a lot of listening, a lot of, what we're doing now. What do you do? What are you going to do? What are you thinking? So
I think people are more open to new things now doing this because we've had a break.
Right.
So I think we're going to be more open to new things too, new approach or a new style or new questioning or new drills or games that you can do too. And they're probably looking forward to it actually once they start doing like, hey, this is better. I like this.
Sure. And we've been at it for so long, even though we think we're looking at it freshly, sometimes we get a little stale. So I think it's not in the long run, it's not going to be such a bad thing. Obviously, it's been horrific now. But I think once we get back into it, like I said, you've got rackets in the background. I've got a fake screen. So
That's right.
I'm not quite there yet, but we're getting there. So, well,
I try to post a lot of the old pictures from the early 1900s about tennis players and old rackets and tennis stuff. I even found a thing from 1906, this little canister, and it's called Covat. It's like, wait a minute, that's the virus. And it's the name of this ointment that you put on to help heal your body. I said, in 1906, they had the answer already. It was in the kit. I found this in my grandfather's shaving kit. So I posted it on Facebook and got a few laughs out and stuff like that again.
And that's, we've got to laugh at it. I don't know that there's any way we can get around it. And we've been fortunate enough to be able to be put in the position where our profession is fun.
Yeah.
And we've got to keep it that way. And this is serious, don't get me wrong. But I think we've got to look at it like, I talk about sports all day.
Yeah.
That's my job. I can't take that too seriously because this is what I did when I was 9 years old. You know, there's nothing different. You know, it's now that's my job though. Instead of Dad, can we? No, shut up. I'm tired of talking about that. Now people, I just turn them off and go call somebody else.
Sure. Well, that's great. You've done a good job with it. You've got a great smile and great personality about it. So.
Well, it's fun, you know, and I've been serious before and it didn't work for me. So.
No.
Well, I appreciate you, sir. I really do. We'll check back when we get a chance to get back to some normalcy, and we'll get outside and then see what's going on.
Frank, it's been a real pleasure. I look forward to talking to you more.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Have a good day.
You too. Thanks.